The wind clawed at the ice like a living thing, shrieking through the emptiness of the tundra. Beneath a sky painted in shifting curtains of green and blue, Earth's last northern outpost lay half buried under snow, a skeleton of steel and frost. It was here, in the place the invaders mocked as uninhabitable, that humanity's final defenders waited in silence. The aliens had called this land a frozen grave. They laughed through the comm channels, their synthetic voices dripping with arrogance, certain that no life could fight in such endless cold. But they did not understand the hearts of those who had been born a hardship, who had learned to turn suffering into resolve. Captain Erin Vallon stood at the heart of the command bunker, her gloved hand resting on the trembling hollow map. The power flickered again, casting her face in alternating bands of blue and darkness. 32 soldiers remained under her command, half of them wounded, all of them exhausted. The supply line had collapsed weeks ago, leaving them with scraps of ammunition and whatever heat they could steal from failing generators. Outside, temperatures dipped below -60, and yet, she knew, the real cold wasn't in the air. It was in the silence of command channels, in the knowledge that no reinforcements were coming. Sergeant Malik knelt beside a broken heater, prying open its casing with a combat knife. Frost had gathered in his beard, turning him almost ghost-like. "You ever think command just forgot we exist, Cap?" he asked, his voice low but laced with bitter humor. Vallon didn't look up. They didn't forget Malik. They just ran out of options. Corporal Lynn adjusted a cracked drone controller, her hands trembling from both cold and exhaustion. "Maybe the aliens are right," she murmured. "Maybe this place really is a grave." Dr. Ansel, hunched in the corner patching a soldier's frostbitten hand, gave a small, grim laugh. "A grave's not so bad," he said. "It means the ground still remembers you." For a moment, no one spoke. The hum of the wind filled the silence, pressing against the bunker walls like a heartbeat. Vallon lifted her gaze to the radar feed. Small flickers, movements to the north, too precise to be wind patterns. The aliens were advancing again, their thermal signatures glowing against the icy void. "They're coming," she said softly. "We got maybe an hour." Malik grunted. "That's generous." The team moved with mechanical precision, each motion born of long habit. Malik checked the old machine gun nest buried beneath snow. Lynn sent up 2 of her drones, though their batteries wouldn't last a night. Ansel distributed thawed rations, cold protein bars, brittle as ice. They worked without complaint. In war, there was no comfort, only routine. Outside, the tundra stretched into infinity, lit by the faint shimmer of auroras. The aliens had underestimated it, mocked its emptiness, its hostility. They didn't realize that Earth's cold didn't kill. It hardened. Every mile of snow, every gust of wind, was a memory of human survival. When the aliens arrived, they expected surrender. What they found instead was defiance carved into the ice. Vallon adjusted her visor, watching through the narrow slit of the observation hatch. Through the blizzard's veil, she could almost make out shapes, tall, armored silhouettes moving in coordinated lines. Their machines glowed faintly blue, elegant and monstrous at once. Plasma rifles gleamed in the dark. The invaders had never fought on a battlefield like this before. Their weapons steamed, their movements sluggish in the frost. Still they advanced. A flicker of movement on the monitor caught Vallon's attention. One of Lynn's drones transmitted a shaky feed. Alien patrols burning through the ice, plasma bursts carving black scars in the snow. They were mocking them again, broadcasting laughter across open frequencies. Malik slammed his fist into the wall. "They think this is funny. They think this world's theirs to ruin." Vallon didn't answer. She watched the signal, her eyes distant, her mind already turning over the impossible math of survival. "Let them laugh," she said finally. "They don't understand what they're walking into." Lynn frowned. "And what are they walking into, Captain?" Vallon's lips curved into the faintest smile. "A storm they can't feel, a cold they can't survive." The generator coughed, then died completely. Darkness swallowed the bunker. For several seconds, only the sound of breathing filled the space. Vallon could feel her soldiers' fear, not in words, but in the stillness that followed. Fear, she thought, was natural. It kept them sharp. It kept them alive. "Get your gear," she said. "We hold the line. 72 hours, that's the order. Long enough for the evac ships to clear orbit." Malik shouldered his rifle. "And if they don't?" Valen met his gaze. "Then we make sure the aliens never forget who froze them here." The soldiers moved into position as snow whirled outside like ashes from a dying fire. Valen lingered for a moment, studying the photo taped to the console, a family she'd lost long ago, smiling in sunlight that felt like fiction now. She pressed her gloved hand to it, a silent promise. Above, thunder rolled, not the kind born of weather, but of engines and plasma bursts echoing over the mountains. The alien offensive had begun. Valen's comms crackled, static mixed with faint words. "Hold the line. Earth endures." It was the last transmission she'd hear from command. She exhaled slowly, letting the air fog her visor. "Positions," she ordered. The soldiers vanished into the storm, shadows in a sea of white. The tundra waited with them, silent, endless, alive in its own brutal way. The first flash of plasma illuminated the snowfield, a blue blaze cutting through the night. The aliens advanced, laughing again, their voices warped by the storm. They had come to mock the cold. To them, it was emptiness, a weakness. But the tundra had always belonged to those who endured it. And as Captain Valen's squad braced for impact, buried beneath the snow and steel of a dying world, one truth burned brighter than the aurora above. The cold would not kill them. It would become their weapon. The night erupted in color and chaos. Plasma bolts sliced through the storm, searing blue arcs across the snowfields as alien armor pushed through the blizzard with mechanical precision. The earth trembled under their march. From beneath the frost, Captain Aaron Valen's squad opened fire, their muzzle flashes swallowed by the whiteout. Every shot was a whisper against the roar of the alien machines, but they held their ground. The tundra screamed with light and sound, and the war for Earth's last frontier had begun. Sergeant Malik's heavy gun rattled from his foxhole, empty shells tumbling into the snow like brass raindrops. His face was caked in frost and sweat, his breath fogging as he shouted coordinates to Lynn, who guided the damaged drones overhead. The machines wheeled clumsily in the wind, but their cameras caught glimpses of the alien formation. Columns of silver armor, glowing at the seams with cold fire. "They're adapting fast." Lynn yelled, voice sharp over the comms. "They're shielding from the cold. They've learned from the first wave." Valen ducked as a blast of plasma vaporized a section of ice beside her. The shock wave flung shards of frozen earth into the air, stinging her cheeks like needles. She crawled behind a ridge, pressing her back to the icy wall as the storm howled above. "Keep pressure," she ordered, her voice even clipped, the calm of a leader long past fear. "If they want to fight in the cold, let's show them what winter means." Malik grinned through cracked lips. "Aye, Captain. Let's freeze their souls." A detonation cracked the sky. Lynn's drone diving straight into an alien walker, the explosion shattering its legs in a burst of fire and snow. For a heartbeat, the team cheered. Then a deeper vibration filled the air, something heavier, more deliberate. Through the white mist, a new machine appeared, larger, shielded in black metal that glowed with internal heat. It didn't stumble in the frost. It melted its own path through the tundra, the snow hissing and vanishing around it. Dr. Ansell's voice trembled over the channel. "They brought a furnace-class war mech. That's not a patrol weapon. That's for eradication." Valen's jaw tightened. The aliens were no longer testing them. They were purging them. "Fall back to the second line," she ordered. "We make them chase us. Use the terrain." The squad moved through narrow ice tunnels carved by meltwater long ago, their boots clanging softly against frozen steel. Frost crackled on their armor. Every breath a ghost in the dark. The cold pressed closer, merciless yet familiar. It was the one constant they could trust. As they retreated, Valen noticed Malik limping, his right boot stiff with ice and blood. "You good?" she asked, keeping her rifle trained behind. He gave a half smile. "Nothing a little warmth wouldn't fix." "Then we'll get you some fire," she replied. They emerged in a cavern of pale blue light. Steam rose from cracks in the ice where geothermal vents pulsed weakly, heat bleeding into the frozen world. Ansel's eyes brightened behind his cracked visor. Captain, this could work. We overload the vents, create a steam surge. The temperature difference will blind their thermal sensors. Buy us time to reposition. Valen's mind moved instantly through the risks. The pressure could collapse the cave, burying them alive. But the alternative was slower and colder. She nodded. Do it. The team set to work with practiced urgency. Malik rigged explosives from spare grenades. Lynn rerouted drone batteries to power the detonators. Ansel monitored the geothermal flow, his fingers trembling as he adjusted readings. Valen watched the tunnel's entrance, the faint glow of alien light growing brighter with each minute. They were close. Too close. The moment the vents erupted, the world vanished in steam. A thunderous roar filled the cavern, and boiling mist rolled outward, enveloping everything. The aliens stumbled, sensors flickering in the heat. Their silhouettes vanished into the haze. The team's comms went static. For a few precious seconds, there was only the hiss of vapor and the rush of their own breathing. Then Malik's voice broke through. We did it, Cap. They're blind. Valen almost smiled. Almost. Then we move. Now. They navigated the maze of tunnels, emerging at a ridge overlooking the valley. The alien army sprawled below, stretching for miles, machines, transports, gliders shimmering under the storm's light. In the center of it all descended something vast. A ship like a floating cathedral, engines burning with liquid light. Even through the storm, they felt its gravity, its authority. A voice came through every open frequency, deep and resonant, speaking in perfect human words. Earth warriors, you resist, but resistance is meaningless. You fight for a dying world. Malik spat into the snow. Guess we're dying loud, then. Valen stared at the ship, the fire reflecting in her visor. No, she said softly. We're not dying. We're teaching them fear. She keyed her comms. Kestrel squad, listen close. We're not the army. We're the memory of one. Anchorage is counting on us to buy time, and we're not done yet. They think this is over, but they haven't met what's beneath the ice. Lynn tilted her head. What's beneath the ice? Valen looked toward the venting fissures stretching across the tundra. A weapon, the tundra itself. Heat against cold. Pressure against pride. For the first time, Malik laughed, not bitterly, but with fire. Guess the planet's fighting with us now. As the alien ship hovered lower, Valen watched the snow swirl into miniature cyclones around it. Her breath came steady. Behind her, the team braced the next phase, battered but unbroken. Captain, Ansel whispered, what happens if they win? She looked up at the crimson aurora bleeding across the sky. Then the tundra buries us, but it buries them too. The alien voice echoed again, colder now, edged with mockery. This world belongs to us. Valen lifted her rifle and whispered into storm, not while we're breathing. The night cracked open with the first volley of humanity's counterattack, and a frozen wasteland burned with defiance. The dawn rose weakly over frozen wastes, its light thin and colorless against the endless white. Smoke coiled lazily above the wreckage, the air thick with the metallic tang of burnt ozone and blood. Far across the horizon, alien formations advanced, silent, disciplined, relentless. Captain Aaron Valen stood on a fractured ridge, the snow crunching beneath her boots, her visor cracked and rimmed with frost. The geothermal detonations had slowed the invaders, but not stopped them. The aliens were learning, adjusting, spreading like fire across the ice. This was where the last fight would happen, under a dead sun, on a land that refused to die. Sergeant Malik limped toward her, his armor torn and steaming, his face pale from exhaustion and blood loss. Ammo's nearly gone, Cap. The guns are freezing faster than we can clear them. Lynn's drones are cooked. What's left runs on prayers. Valen watched the glowing lines on her display, the aliens closing like veins of molten light. Then we make those prayers sound like thunder. Down below, Corporal Lynn crouched beside a derelict tank, a relic from a forgotten era of human war. Its frame was corroded, Its cannon fused from decades of frost, but she was wired to a fusion cell scavenged from their last working drone. Dr. Ansel helped her, his gloves trembling as he connected the final cable. The old machine groaned, a low metallic howl that vibrated through the ground. Malik stared at it, incredulous. "That heap's not going to fight, Lynn." She shot him a faint grin. "Doesn't need to fight, just needs to roar once." The sky darkened as the alien flagship descended, its engines humming with terrible grace. The ground steamed where its heat met the ice. From within the haze stepped the frost seer, towering, armored in blackened metal threaded with liquid frost. His voice boomed through the wind, his words distorted but clear. "Humans, you could have lived. You chose extinction." Valen stepped forward, rifle steady. "Extinction's quiet," she said. "We're not." The alien tilted his head, voice low and cold. "You fight for a corpse." She raised her weapon, then let the corpse bite back. The sky exploded into chaos. Plasma fire cut through the blizzard, painting the snow in streaks of blue flame. Valen's squad answered with everything they had, their gunfire a desperate, furious rhythm. The tank roared to life, belching a gout of light as its cannon fired, the shot tearing to the alien front and scattering their formations. Malik laughed between bursts of gunfire. "Guess it still has a soul." The frost seer moved like lightning. He hurled a wave of energy that liquefied the snow and flung the squad off their feet. Valen hit the ground hard, her ears ringing, her ribs screaming. Lynn shielded Ansel as debris rained down around them. Through the steam, the frost seer advanced, massive, unstoppable, wreathed in heat. "You think defiance changes your fate?" he thundered. Valen rose shakily, spitting blood. "No," she said, "but it ruins yours." She fired until her rifle gave a hollow click, the barrel melting from the heat. The alien struck her with a sweep of his arm, sending her skidding across the ice. Pain blurred her vision, but through the haze, she saw Malik dragging himself toward the detonator, his body broken, but his grin unbroken. "You said we make hope loud, right?" he rasped. "Malik, wait." He slammed his hand on the trigger. The tundra roared to life. Steam and molten ice surged upward, swallowing the alien vanguard in a blinding eruption. The blast flung Valen backward. When the light faded, Malik was gone. The ridge had become a crater of fire and ice. The frost seer staggered, his armor fractured, smoke pouring from the cracks. Valen forced herself to her feet, knife drawn. She charged through the drifting vapor, every step an act of fury. The alien swung, but she ducked beneath his reach, driving her blade into the seam of his armor where frost and flesh met. His scream rattled the air. She shoved a cryo grenade into the wound and kicked herself away. The detonation froze in mid-roar, locking him in a tomb of ice. Silence swept over the battlefield. Lynn and Ansel emerged from the smoke, battered but alive. Above them, the alien flagship faltered, its engines dimming. Without its master, it rose slowly into clouds, retreating into the endless sky. Valen fell to her knees, staring at the icy monument that had once been their destroyer. The sunrise caught in its crystalline surface, refracting light across the field. "You laughed at our cold," she whispered. "Now it's all you'll ever know." The wind returned, howling low across the dead. Ansel knelt beside her. "We won, Captain." She shook her head faintly. Malik did. Lynn's voice was small, fragile. "What do we do now?" Valen stood, her shadow long against the ice. "Now we remember. Now we keep breathing." A flicker broke through her comms, a voice wrapped in static. "Anchorage command, survivors confirmed. Evac incoming." She exhaled, the frost lifting from her breath like smoke. "You're late," she said quietly. The rescue shuttle broke through the clouds, its golden light cutting through the storm. Valen turned one last time toward the frozen battlefield, toward the still form of the frost seer trapped beneath the dawn. She touched the scar on her armor where the ice had split and whispered to the wind, "Earth remembers." And for the first time in an endless winter, hope didn't feel like resistance. It felt like survival.